everyone. Good evening and welcome to it is the third Monday night and welcome to Ricardo Miller Effective Living Monday Night Conversation. And I am your host, Carol Crockett. And it's so good to see all of you on. I see, I think it's Coach Ned. He's already come on and said hi, Coach. Coach isn't here, but he is such a blessing. And thank you for tuning in as well. Well, I'm excited tonight because I have a very special guest who is Cynthia Ferguson. And I am just so excited to have the opportunity. Actually, Cynthia, we're kind of catching up a little bit lately here.
Yes, we are.
And just to have here, yeah, and church members, we've been church members and connected through the Ricardo Miller Effective Living and Children's Church. You remember that? We were connected back then as well. So we do have a lot in common. And I just want to say thank you for joining me tonight because I think we have a great conversation. Tonight, y'all, we're going to talk about the journey of becoming. The journey of becoming. We always say in effective living, we are on a journey. You know, we're journeying. We're not at a destination, but we are journeying, and we love thinking about the journey is so much better with friends. And that's how I see you tonight, Cynthia, as my friend. But before we get started, I want you, Cynthia, to just tell everyone a little bit about Cynthia and even the journey that you had to, some things I know personally that you've had to go through as far as your journey on becoming. So just tell us who you are, Cynthia, and we'll just start chatting from there. How about that?
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. I truly appreciate it, and I'm excited. My name is Cynthia Ferguson. I am the founder of the Wolfitz Girls Empowerment Group. We started that in 2014. I am a mentor. I'm a certified life coach. I work as a school medic for one of the charter schools in Plano. And I am also the president of the Divas Build Futures Incorporated, which is another young ladies group. And I'm excited to be here. I love what I do. And, you know, we all have our journeys that we go through. Let me read you something that I wrote, and this is how I feel about, you know, how we become. The life we live and the obstacles we overcome are part of the story we tell in our journey to becoming. Each of us has our story, maybe from the time you can remember up to current, maybe it's, you know, later on in life, but everything that we deal with and go through, good or bad, is part of our journey to becoming who we are today. You know, I've had many journeys in my life, very many. But one, you know, that stuck out to me is, as Carol was mentioning, is the death of my husband and 2 boys. And that was a very difficult time, but I also had my faith. Faith is what has kept me moving forward. Without faith, you know, there's just, I don't see how people do it. But all of those things that we went through, you know, I was blessed enough to have a good man in my life for 27 years.
Wow.
I was blessed with children. You know, part of the journey is, you know, God promises us, you know, these things, and he gives us gifts and he gives us talents, but he never tells us how we're going to get it. One example is I have one biological son. God promised me more children, but he never told me how I was going to get those boys. And since then, I have had 2 other children in my life that are my children, that are sons. My oldest is 27. My God promised child is 25. And then I also later on in life, after, you know, I lost my husband and started moving on with my life, God told me I wasn't finished raising children, and he brought another young man into my life, and he's 7 years old. So we never know what is transforming in our life to get us to the point we are now. And that's, you know, just part of me becoming who I am today and very comfortable with who I am today and
Oh,
what I've gone through.
and that is you've said a whole lot and a lot of things I didn't really know about. I didn't know about the 7-year old blessing as well. But what an amazing opportunity for you to be able to, like you said, we don't know how God is going to give us our gifts and talents, but I believe too that we have to be willing and open to receive those, because we don't really know what major blessing he has for you or any of us on the other side by us simply saying yes to his will and his word. And I love how you just kind of said to us, without faith, I mean, the Bible tells us that, right? Without faith, it's just impossible to please God. But like you were saying, when we go through obstacles, because life is going to give us some lemons, and we either have to make some lemonade or we just stay where we are, right?
Right.
But I believe we have to know how to handle those obstacles. And like you were saying, I don't know either, Cynthia, how anybody can can go through some of the storms in life. And we know there's going to be death. There's going to be so many things that can really shake us. But
Right.
with our faith, planted and grounded in who we believe in, when we it's like, I think we talked about that a little bit Saturday about that footprint. Somebody said that our footprint is in the sand, and we don't realize how much God is actually carrying us when we really can't carry ourselves. So
Exactly.
I see Sister Della Major is on here. Hey, Della, she's one of the hosts on the Monday night. And she said the journey of becoming who God has truly called us to be. And that is, like you said, calling you to be. And you even talked about that, Cynthia, saying about even on the journey and the obstacles in life. I love that you said you love who you are now. And that is so important in the journey to become who God called us to be, because he I always say he didn't make any junk, so I might as well enjoy this journey. And and when he said, we're beautiful, wonderful, that's what his words say. But we got to believe that. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. You have to believe because, if you don't believe in yourself, first of all, how
Right.
is anybody else going to believe in you? Same thing. If you don't
Absolutely.
love yourself, how can you love somebody else and how can you have somebody love you because you don't know what it is?
Right.
We
Right.
think we know what love is or what certain things are, different emotions, but until you've been through it and experienced it yourself and realize what it truly means to you,
Yes.
that's when it makes a difference of helping you to become who you're supposed to be, not who Sally wants you to be, not who Billy wants you to be, not who, your boss wants you to be, not who anybody else wants you to be. You have to be true to yourself
True. Yes.
and know who you are so that you can project the best of yourself to everybody else.
Mhm. And like you were saying, oppositions is a natural part of life. But I always say this, Cynthia, that there are no wasted experiences. Everything that we go through can be used to build up who we are, to magnify God. And also, I love what you said too. If we don't know who we are and we don't love who we are, we won't be any good to anyone else. Not at all. So we're
Exactly.
going to get into hey, did you want to say anything about that awesome workshop that we had the privilege to attend on Saturday? I'm still like this. I told someone, I think I told you guys, I've texted poor Melissa. I done text Brady. I bet they're tired of Miss Carol by now. But that was a great workshop, I think.
It really was. That was the best workshop that I think I've ever been to. And I've been to some of his workshops in the past, and I've always taken away so much. I have been talking about it to people and telling them, you just don't understand the things, that were expressed there, but you could just feel the authenticity of everybody who was there. And you could feel the
Absolutely.
true love of what they were talking about or giving information about. And Melissa was
Right.
amazing, has my head spinning and
Yes.
thinking about some things. Brady, she was amazing. These are some of the things that we know and
Always.
hear, but it takes a certain point in our life where it clicks, and it's like,
Exactly.
okay, you know what? It's time to make a move. It's time
Hmm.
to make a change. And again, that's part
Hmm.
of our journey.
It's part of our journey. And just like you were saying, it's sometimes those words on that printed paper or those words coming from someone else make us really rethink. And we know in effective living, it is really like you said, it's all about us. I love when Coach said we're just chipping away day by day. We're learning, and we are learning other things, but we've got to learn and study ourselves as well. So it was
Yes,
amazing. And like you said, I'll encourage anybody to get connected in this group because there's so much that we walk away with each and every day. So,
yes,
well, we're going to get a little bit into this conversation about becoming because, as we know, and for those of you who don't know, each Monday at 10 o'clock, Coach Ricardo always drop a relevant blog for us to be able to look at. And we just kind of go back and chat about it, and we just chew a little bit on it and share with each other. And so this week, once again, he's talking about the journey to becoming. And so we know it is all about becoming in this season. That's what it's really about. And he says we have to understand that every day is an opportunity to begin again. Every day is an opportunity to begin. And I just think that it's about us being, it takes commitment, it takes discipline, and you're not going to stop ever. You're not going to ever stop becoming, because when we stop becoming, life probably will be over for us. And so we have to continue to know that, and this is what I say, becoming the best version of yourself. And that is a day to day thing. And I love, like he say, if I can look back on yesterday and say that Carol is a better person today than she was yesterday, I'm on my journey. And so it is very important, for us to understand that who you are becoming. He said this in the blog, Cynthia, who you are becoming is more important than what you are accumulating. I'm going to stop right there and see, because, I don't know about you, but I can accumulate some stuff. I mean, in our effective living, we talk about decluttering and getting rid of those things in the closets, but it is so easy to accumulate things. Things. And so that's what he was saying. It's so easy to accumulate. But what do you think about just accumulating things? And even can't we accumulate knowledge and don't do anything with it?
yes, that's so true. You can accumulate knowledge. You can accumulate people in your life
Oh,
that are
wow.
not bringing any value to you.
Hmm.
You can accumulate, like you said, material things. You can accumulate, just about anything. But it's the mindset that you have that's going to help you move forward.
Hmm.
Like you said, you can accumulate books, but if you're not reading them, what is it doing? I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
Oh, yeah.
I have books, and Pastor Ricardo said something Saturday that really stuck out to me that I've heard time and time and time again. Is
Uh-huh.
if you're not reading and learn, I mean, how else are you going to learn something without reading it? And I'm
Yes.
gonna be honest right now. I've never enjoyed reading.
Uh-huh.
So my son bought me a subscription to Audible.
Okay.
For a while there, I was going because I was listening to a book, and then of course things happen, and then you
Hmm.
stop, and I haven't picked it back up yet, and I
Oh,
need to, but Saturday kind of put that little that little voice in my ear, you've got to start doing it. You have to start making yourself, how else am I going to be knowledgeable about something? If I don't ask questions, I won't know. If I
Right.
don't read and find out and research, I don't know. Because we're so easily this day ready to take everybody's word for it. Oh, well, she said this is the way to do it. Well, no, he said this is the way to do it.
Right.
And both of them can be wrong.
Exactly.
Let's do it ourselves and research it ourselves and read ourselves and get into doing things and quit accumulating things that we're not utilizing. It's
Yeah.
cluttering up our life.
Exactly. Deborah, who's one of the hosts, she said, when we accumulate without using it, it is wasteful. It is wasteful. And interesting that we are talking about accumulating, and she said something about wasteful, because that was one big conviction, Cynthia, that somebody told me, and I think I've shared this before in our community, but it's sad that at one time I could go in my closet and find two of the same things, and one still got a tag on it. And so when Coach started talking to us about that, I was like, oh my God. But one of my friends said to me, Carol, when you are putting all these things in your closet and you're not using them, she said, now this really stuck with me, Cynthia. She said, you're not a good steward of God's money. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God. Cause I'm like, well, I'm paying my tithe. But when she said that, that just made me I was like, Lord, she is so right. There are people needing some shoes, and you got two pair, and one of them you have one and got the tag on them, and clothes the same way. So like I say, every day we're getting better and better, right?
Yes.
Getting better and
This
better.
is what we're going to say about, learning things the way we've grown up, and we may learn something and it's harder to unlearn those things.
That's right. Unlearning, because, and you talked about mindset, because sometimes our mind, sometimes you can have a poverty mindset, and you think that if I don't, here was my mindset. If my closet don't look like it's chugged full with clothes, if I got a space, something is wrong with that, and that was a horrible mindset to have. And that's what we have to start working on if we're even in becoming and on this journey to becoming. The Bible says, so as a man thinketh, so is he or she, because that's how we think. And if we don't change how we're thinking, we're going to stay stuck in some of that. But thank goodness we're in this community, and we are working on not only thinking better, but doing better, and making sure that every day we're on our journey to becoming a great steward, a great person, a better person of who we are, and an authentic person. I want to add that, to
Right,
be
right.
authentic. But Coach is saying here, the person you will become in 5 years will be based upon these 5 principles. So tonight, guys, Cynthia and I are just going to dive into 5 principles. And I'm going to start with principle number 1, and I'll let Cynthia, do number 2, and we'll just kind of piggyback off each other, if that's okay. But he has this quote by Jim Rohn, and it says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I started counting. Let me see, who are these 5? I was like, okay. Well, no, this person right here, like you were talking about, are they bringing to me what I need in my life?
Yeah.
And sometimes when he said the average of the 5 people, and it's not always from a monetary perspective. It is, like he said, if you're going to realize your potential, you must be around people who push you to become the very best version of yourself. Avoid the drama or the negativity. Always surround yourself with people that push you to do and be better. Now, we can just stop and talk about that drama and the negativity that people can bring into your life. Cynthia, you have any of those in yours?
No, of course. Yes, and that's the hardest part, is that a lot of times that some of those people who are bringing the drama or the negativity are some of the closest ones to you,
I know.
family, some of your closest friends. and you have to make that decision, to let go of some of them. You can still be in contact with them, hey, how are you doing and stuff, but to have them around you on a regular basis it's not helping you. And I've had to do that. I've had to let go of some of the hardest ones. I've had to let go of are actually family members that,
Wow.
it's not that I don't love them. It's not that I don't care about them, but I needed to space myself because I knew I'm growing and either you're going to come with me or you're going to get left behind. So I wanted to
Exactly.
make sure I had, where I'm going and what I want to do. I need to have people who are going to encourage me because we're our worst enemy about doubting ourselves and not encouraging ourselves and saying, questioning what we're doing. So we need our cheerleaders behind us, but we also need to be a cheerleader to others who are doing things that we see that we want to do or progress like them.
Right. And I love that you said we have to, someone had a post on and they were talking about how their family members were actually, like you said, some of the was causing them so much drama. And sometimes you got to give people the permanent wave and, but I think TD Jakes said this one time, you have to learn how to love them from afar.
Yes.
Or he said it like this: you can love people, but they don't always have to be on your boat. Because if they're on your boat, they can cause you to sink if they're negative and causing you the drama. And so we do sometimes have to make that decision. And sometimes it's hard because you see where you're going, you see that you're doing better, and you want to reach back and help them. But if that negativity is a choice that they are making, sometimes we have to make a choice to let them go.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
So you want to talk about?
We don't want them to drag us down. No, we don't want them to drag us down. If you have a goal in your mind and you're set to get there, you have to do what it takes to get to that point. And sometimes it means letting go or saying goodbye or moving here or doing whatever, legally, everything has to be legally.
Right. It can't be stuff that you're doing and, and making it call.
Exactly.
But, also, don't you think sometimes even when you make that decision, it's almost like they will come around and come at you with oh, she thinks she's better. Oh, she thinks she's that, or look at her. And, they can see a change in you, but they're not willing to come and succumb to or put their pride aside and even ask you. And sometimes people are just satisfied being where they are. They don't want to grow. And when you represent growth, that makes them feel bad. But I always say, but it don't make them feel bad enough to want to make a change. And that's what it's all about. If Coach always talk about, I think Billy said that this morning, you're not a rock. So you ought to want to change, especially if you see where you are is the same place you've been for the last, I'll even put it, for the last 6 months. For us in this group, we want to make sure that we're moving and chipping away, like you say, learning and growing and just becoming. But I love the fact that we can enjoy this journey that we're on. We can enjoy it. And sometimes people don't like the joy that you can have too, because you're not with your head. Even when you talk about losing your husband and having to raise your son and your sons, sometimes people would look and think, how is she smiling through this? How is she able to pick herself up and keep moving? And then not just moving, but progressively moving forward to create a life that you can truly say, I love where you are today. You love where you are. And that takes a lot to be able to look at yourself and know that you've done the work. And now you can say, I absolutely love my life where it is. Doesn't mean I'm going to stay there, but where I am right now, I'm much better than I was at first, right?
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because I would have people friends and other people that would say things like, well, how are you still living in your house? Well, how are you paying your bills? Or how are you doing this? My answer is always going to be the same. God provided for me. It's all God. He gives me that strength.
Right.
He's the one that, is my faith is what has gotten me through everything. And there's times that you just wanted to be like, well, it's not really any of your business how I'm paying my bills. You're not paying it. But the reality is that, to me, it kind of made me sad that somebody doesn't know that faith or know God like that they have enough trust that He's going to get you through.
Right, exactly. I think I saw Nikki Bright on here. She's over our children at Babies at Church. Hey,
Hey,
Nikki.
Nikki.
Well, Cynthia, let's go to Coach's point number 2. You want to start out on that one for me?
Sure. And we kind of touched on it a while ago. The books
Yeah.
you read,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to find out something on a particular subject, on something just like, reading, like Coach Ricardo's book, Effective Living.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He mentioned it at the on Saturday at the conference about, when you get through one point, you may have read the book and maybe one thing stuck out to you. And so you got that down. You may need to go back and reread and get more out of it, or something else is going to stick out. That's with anything, anything. Like I told you, I've got to get better on reading. I like to hear people talk and gather the information from them. And, that's taking the easy way out. It really is. And that's what I've done. So I'm making a pledge to myself, not to anybody else, to really get out there and push myself to start reading more and going back and rereading. I actually purchased Brady's book on Saturday. I'm so excited to dig into that because that's something that is going to be helpful to us. How else are we going to know? If you want to know something about adoptions, you can't just take somebody's word about adoptions in Texas, in the US, the guidelines and stuff. You have to research it and know what you're up against.
Exactly.
You wouldn't take somebody's word if you got audited from the IRS and just said, oh yeah, just
whatever they say.
yeah. No, you want to find out for yourself because you can't always listen to everybody. Now it's a nice point of view to get everybody's points of view.
Right.
But you still have to get the correct information.
Right. The factual information that's
The
going to
facts.
assist you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
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 Yeah, and I love Coach's story too, because he always advocated reading like on reading the Bible on an audio or whatever, and now they've gotten all these things, and so. But what you were saying too, sometimes you like to hear people talk, and I think it has a lot to do. You're in education; it has a lot to do with our learning styles as well. Too,
Yes.
I think we have to take that into consideration. That our learning styles are very, very key. Is how we absorb information and gather information. So I always tell them, and I tease him all the time. If I don't write it down, it might not have been said to me because that I like to write stuff out. So we laugh about that all the time. But like you were saying, it's one place we can start is with Coach's book, the Effective Living book.
Yes.
Because it is a wealth of information, and I too need to go back. The first time I read it, he's like, Miss Carol, you got so much commentary in here. I was like, yeah, because if I don't write it down, it's like I need to have that for my memory as well. But he does have a lot of information in there, and I do have Brady's book as well, so I need to dig into that one as well. I've had I've accumulated too, Cynthia, some books in my life. If we're going to tell the truth on here, the ugly truth is I've accumulated some books, and actually when you start talking to us about, getting rid of some of those things, I did make an effort to, okay, Carol, you haven't read this one, take this one. Somebody might want to read it. And so I did start doing a little bit of that. So, yeah.
Okay.
But anything else you want to add on that one?
Well, yeah, one time, I was talking with Coach Ricardo, and I was telling him, I've always liked to be in the background, and I like to do this and give you this information, and I'm being pushed out to the front because I know that is where God is guiding me. That's part of my journey. I've done, all this stuff. Although I'm comfortable back here, I need to step out because I don't believe that doors are going to be open for me that don't need to be, and I don't take the opportunity to go through. Whether I fail or not, I've taken that step. But I was talking to him about, I like being in the background. I like giving the information. People would call me, hey, do you know where I can get this or how I can do this? And I know these people, and I know how to tell you who's this and that. And he told me to get a book called How to Become a Power Connector. And that's the one that I was listening to on Audible. And the more I listened to it, I was like, wow, that sounds like me, but I'm not a power connector, and it makes you start thinking, and there goes that's
Doubt.
not me. That's not me. Yes. And you do start doubting yourself, but it's actually, it was really good. And it helped me to realize, well, first of all, there's a different way of reading by listening, because I like that better than I do actually sitting there with a book.
Right.
But it also helped me to realize, like we talked about in point one, some of the people that I surround myself with, are they bringing value? I'm helping you do this and helping you do that, and you're helping me, and we're connecting in different ways. I want to be one of those people that I have everything and everybody in my list, and I can help everybody. But again, it goes back to, I have to be able to help myself first before I can help anybody else.
And that I wrote that book down, Cynthia, The Power Connector. And interesting that
How to
you
become
said
a power connector.
that, because when I was, the Power Connector.
How to become a power connector.
How to become. Okay, how to become. I think Deborah got it in the chat. How to become a power connector. You guys might want to get that book. But Cynthia, you when I was thinking about asking you on, and that's the first thing I thought. She's always helping him, and every time I see you, that's kind of how we connect, is that you're helping, and I know that's fine, and I love to help coach too. But like you were saying, now God is saying, on this journey, Cynthia, it's time to come to the front. And I tell coach this all the time. I say, yeah, I'll say yes when I really want to say no.
Yes.
I don't feel like I can do it. I'm like, are you sure? All of that. But I told him, I said, well, one day I just said, I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to say it and do it, even if I'm afraid or fearful, because I do suffer with a lot of people pleasing, attitudes and things that I've been working on. And so it has really helped me just to say, I think there's power in saying yes to the right thing. I'm not saying we say yes to everything, but it's power in knowing when to put those boundaries and say no. Because like you were saying, if people come to you for the information, sometimes we might need to teach them how to fish, instead of coming to you because they know you probably gonna go and research it and lay it all out for them. But and I'm not saying we can't be helpful, but sometimes we do have to help people help themselves, in a sense, because we want them to grow and become better than they are as well.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's see. Yeah, we better get through these points. My goodness, we're having a good time. He said, and you can just jump in on this, but he talks about, and we mentioned this a little bit, the habits you created. He said the sum of one's intelligence is the sum of one's habits of the mind, habits of the mind. So he said, you sow a thought, you reap an action. You sow an action, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. And if you sow a character, you reap a destiny. So he encouraged us, and I love in his book, because he says, study your habits. But I think he also talked about in the book, we got to study our past, because some of those habits are coming from things that, like you said in the beginning, things that we've learned along the way. And we're going to talk a little bit about environment too. But that, where we are, what we learn. And we do sometimes have to go back and unlearn a lot of the things that we've learned in order for us to be able to make or break. He said our habits can either make us or break us, but we have to remember we become what we look, we become what we repeatedly do. What you do over and over again. And that's what they say. It takes 21 days to start a new habit or even break one. You can, 21 days. So if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over, then that can get you to that will become a habit to you. And so what do you think about these habits before I go to the next thing he has on here? Because it's so easy for us to pick up habits that we can look back and say that were not beneficial to us at all.
Oh my goodness. Habits, just that word alone, it kind of gets you, because we all have habits, good habits, bad habits, and it is learned. It is. I wrote something down a while back, and it's, and I look at it every now and then. It's take control of your life. Don't let life take control of you. Wow. So, we have habits that control our life sometimes, that control our mind sometimes. And, like we mentioned before, to unlearn that is hard, but if we're consistent about it, about anything that we're doing, we can change that. We have to, if we don't like the way something's going, we're the only ones who control that. We're the only ones who can change that for our own selves. We can try to help others, give them guidance if they ask it, but it has to be their decision. And for me, there was some things that I had to change in my life after my husband passed away, so I wouldn't fall into having to be dependent on anybody else, having to be worried about anything else. And it's just, I had to take control of my life. I still have to take control of my life. There's certain things that, it's easy to slip back. You can start doing good, and then something happens and you can regress a little bit, but it's a mindset. It's a mindset. If you really want something bad enough, you will do what it takes to get to that point. And you may fail 1 time, 3 times, 10 times, as long as you don't give up and you keep doing it. Eventually we'll get it right.
Exactly. And then, like you said, we can't be afraid to, I think fear it cripples us because we're afraid of failing. And like you said, failure is not really who you are. That's just something you actually experience. But I always say, if you fail, let that be a learning lesson, or let that be another building stone in order for you to be able to go to the next level. Because that failure we're going to fail at something sometime or another, but we can't allow that to be something that we just stay stuck on. I mean, you found people that just say, oh, I failed and I'm just giving up. We can't give up. We have to continue to try to, pick ourselves up and learn from that, and then move to the next step, because you will never reach you will never reach the place of continuing to become on this journey if you decide, oh, I'm giving up. I can't, I think he has in his book, or one of his books, about even how we say things like, I can't, and I say this: if you say you can, you can.
Yes.
But if you say you can't, you can't. They're both true. It depends upon our mindset and what we are actually speaking out of our mouth. Either one of those can be true. And we have to make sure that we're creating habits and a habit of a mindset that's going to be a positive mindset, that's going to be a progressive mindset, a mindset that's not going to keep us stuck or have, I think, have no dreams and no ambition, and just want to stay where you are. And what kind of life is that? You just have to know that you got to want more, but you got to work a little more if you want to get more. So it takes some, and when we say work, it's not always physical work. It's that working of your mind to change it and to be able to look and see something that's better or different that's going to be very beneficial to you.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of times I think that sometimes others see it in you before you see it in yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that's where the encouragement comes around, and the cheerleaders come around, and those are the people that you need because they see something in you. You haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But again, that's part of the journey of you becoming, because you are learning and you're starting to see. And once you start realizing, hey, I can do this. Hey, I can speak. Hey, I can say this. You know, you get you become more confident in yourself, and you know what you believe in, and you know what you want. But sometimes that holds us back. But I think if others see it in you first and they kind of encourage you, that kind of helps you move along.
And that's what we talked about earlier. We do need those people who will push us out of our comfort zone. And like you say, sometimes there are some people who can see coaches like that. He see a lot in all of us and he will push, right? He will push. But I'm grateful that he does see those things in us and he wants to push those qualities in us, out of us, that we are holding back on for whatever reason, whatever mindset, whatever habits we develop, to say that we can't. Della said we got to renew our minds every day in pursuit of becoming better. And that is absolutely right.
Wow.
We do have to do that. And he says here, I love this, because he says some people think all they need to do is to be motivated. And he says it's easy to be motivated, but motivation is not enough. Motivation is what's going to get us started, but habit is what keeps you going, keeping it going. I'll never forget, I was in this program and I never thought, I never been very physical about doing a whole bunch of stuff, but anyway, and we started the program and the challenge was to walk. And that's been about 5 years ago. And I promise you, I did not realize I love to walk until I got into that. But I had to develop that habit and that mindset, and I had to get out of my mindset. Oh, I can't be doing all this walking and sweating. But today, if I choose a exercise of my choice, and that's what they say, find the exercise that you want to do. And so mine is going to be walking. And so that's what he was saying. Habit is what keeps you going. Successful people are simply those with successful habits. Successful people are those with successful habits. Isn't that something?
Wow. So that's good.
Well, you want to talk about number 4?
Yes, the environment that you're in. It's important. You know, we've kind of touched on some of that stuff about the environment you're in, the people you're around. You know, sometimes you can go into some place and, you know, you may just feel this is the right place where I'm supposed to be. And other times, you know, you got to pay attention to that, what they call the gut feeling. If something doesn't go right, that's not your environment. You're not going to grow there. You're not going to succeed there. You're not going to move forward there. And you need to make sure that you are in a right environment, you know, work, home, mindset. You know, your mindset has to be in the right environment to push forward. We have to be intentional and work for what we want in the environment that we're at to get further along to where we want to be.
Right. And so, I love that word, intentional. I don't know if my feedback, intentional. Like you said, we have to be intentional about getting to the place that we want to be. And like you, and you know, having people supporting you to transform, you know, help you become transform into who you want to, encouraging you. I mean, it is something about the power of people encourage. You need those, you want those people in your life. You want people to say you can do this, and you want people to celebrate you where you are every step. You know, celebration. Coach talked about that the other day, how when he gets that feedback and that encouragement, and all of us want to feel like we, you know, that someone sees the successful things in us, or see the things that we could be doing and encourage us. So that is so important, to evaluate your environment. And
Yes.
Cynthia, I years ago, before I retired, my last place of teaching, I worked at a juvenile detention center, and of course they need teachers too, right? but
Right.
but when we were talking about environment, I thought about this. And I worked for the part of the juvenile detention I worked for was like a daycare, a day kind of treatment center.
Mhm.
Okay, so these young people were on drugs, but they come in the daytime and go through counseling and those kind of things, but they go home. But the saddest thing, like he said, evaluate your environment. The saddest thing that I noticed is that you can come and give them all of the information they need. They had to be drug tested all the time. They got counseling, they got school, they got all this thing. But the sad part that I noticed is some of them had to go back to the surroundings and the environment that got them in there in the first place. And
Wow.
that's what he's saying too. When we don't look at our, we don't look and check our environments and look at them to see if they can change. He said, anytime you have the urge to return to a harmful environment, keep in mind the damage it had on your sanity and the duration of time it took to regain your peace of mind. And the environment does matter on the journey. And I just thought about those young people. The environment does matter, and they might not have had a choice. But as adults who can make a decision and make a choice to evaluate our environment, and then know that if you come out of something negative and you've been celebrated in this positive mood, why would you really want to go back to that I'll call it that dark place again, you know?
Yeah. And I think it is important to encourage and celebrate people. I mean, it does. It feels good when when you're celebrated or somebody says good job or, hey, yay, whatever. It does. It kind of boosts you up and say, oh, I want more of that. I want more of that.
Absolutely.
And so, I think it is. I mean, we can't just say we want something without
Mhm.
working for it. It's not going to just come to us. I think, I know, many years ago, it was like, well, I knew what I wanted. And so I was like, okay, well, it's going to come around eventually. It's going to come around eventually.
Right.
I don't think I was ready.
Mhm.
And so I was waiting for it to come around and then had to realize, well, I can't wait around. If I want something, I'm going to have to start doing something and start working in this, baby steps, baby steps.
Exactly.
And
Mhm.
so, and now, I'm still in my process of becoming.
Mm.
And like I said, I love at the point that I'm at now, and I'm excited to see next week, next year,
Absolutely.
5 years,
Mhm.
I'm excited. I don't know what it's going to bring, but I know that it's going to be better than the day before. I know
Exactly.
that because
Mhm.
that's my mindset that I want for
Right.
me
Mhm.
in my becoming.
Right. And you're willing to work at becoming a better person today, by setting our goals and having those checklists and journaling and all those kind of things. Because even in journaling, you can look back, like you said, and see where you've come from. And I believe we have to pat ourselves on the back sometimes too and
Yes.
celebrate yourself as well, because that's so important. But he says life is all about becoming a better version of yourself. And you just said that. Looking back, looking back today to see if you're a better person today than you were yesterday.
Yes.
And so our effective living is a journey and it's not a destination. And here's one thing he said, it's not a straight line process. There's going to be I think Deborah Smith says all the time, you're going to have some detours in in this journey, but you're going to have some distractions in this journey. You're going to have some distasteful people in this journey, but we have to make sure that we keep our mind focused on where we want to go. And you have to know that it, nobody's going to always come and drop it in our hands. We're going to have to do a little work. As my dad say, have a little muscle going on and working for you. Got to use those muscles a little bit. But cheering yourself on, and for any accomplishments that you've done, and you can say that you see the progress. I love just cheering, being able to stop and think, because sometimes we would think that that's a little bit prideful to cheer yourself on, but I think it is encouraging to cheer yourself on your daily accomplishments, and you can get up and say, hey, I got all this done on this list today, and look at where I am. I'm a day better than I was yesterday, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Cynthia, this has really been a great conversation. And, like you said, you are capable. All of us are capable of becoming more than you realize. That is so much true. We're very, very capable of becoming more. But thank God for Coach and our community who encourages each other and pushes one another. And know that I love when he tells us this: we're not in competition, but we are definitely in completion. And that's what we always want to do on this journey of our life. We want to make sure that we are, taking care and being able to complete those things that God has allowed us to have. And that we can have joy in the process as well. And we can certainly have joy when we look back and see, with his help and our faith, that we've been able to accomplish so many things. And I believe that we are a testimony to the kingdom of God when we can do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Cynthia, any upcoming events before we close, as we get ready? Well, let me ask you this. He talked about 5 things. Is there one thing in particular that stood out to you that you want to talk about? One
Uh,
thing in
well, for me, it was the books you read, because that's something that I need to work on, and
uh-huh,
that just keeps coming back to me, to push myself to
uh-huh,
do that.
right.
And again, it's going to take just me to push myself, because you could hand me a book, the next person can hand me a book, but it's going to be up to me what I'm going to do with it. So I
Right.
have to get my mindset right on what I want. And so that in turn, if I continue to do that, will become a habit that's going to take me to my next step of being in the environment I want to be in, because I've learned about it. So it kind of all encompasses all together. So
It does.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
as far as any events that are coming up, absolutely.
Okay.
My group, the Wolf Vets Empowerment Group, has partnered with the Divas Build Futures Incorporated group, and we are having it's called Come Together, a
Mm,
mother-daughter experience. And it will be on Saturday, September 10th at the Art Center of Plano.
mm.
For more information, you can either contact me on my Facebook page. You can go to Eventbrite, and under Eventbrite, it's called Come Together, a Mother-Daughter Experience. Or you can go to the website of www.divasbuildfutures.com. That's
Oh,
www.divasbuildfutures.com. And we're going to have a wonderful time. We're going to have a special guest speaker who is Karen Johnson, who is from the Dress for Success program. She's an excellent speaker. We're going to
mhm.
have panels talking about mental health, relationships, and it's for ages 13 through 19. So please support us. If you know of anyone who would be interested, send them to the website. Or if you're not able to go and you would like to sponsor a mother-daughter, reach out to us, and we would love to have that as well. Or if you want
Oh,
to volunteer for the event, we need volunteers.
okay. Well, that sounds like some great information, and I want to get with you because I really didn't know you had all this going on, Cynthia. And so, if you are able to support Cynthia, please make sure you go to her website or to her Facebook page and show some support for her. And so, tonight has been a great conversation. We are talking about the journey of becoming, and we are all on this journey of becoming the very best that we can be, better than you were yesterday. That's all what I want. I want to chip away and make sure today, when I look at my life today, I can look back and say I am much better than I was yesterday. And you can too, and you can applaud yourself because we can cheer ourselves on. But I also know that in this community, we're great about encouraging one another. And Coach is so good with that. And I think Coach has something coming up, and I think that'll be showing in a few minutes. So thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for everything you shared tonight. Has been very enlightening and empowering for me to even hear the things that God has you doing, and how you are mentoring young women, and your bonus babies that you had, and you said yes to that, and what a blessing that is. So I look forward to us catching up again, and we want to say good night to everyone else. We'll see
Thank
y'all the
you.
next time.